Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This is the Good Morning Education Show. My name is Rotimi. I am excited. Thank God it's Friday. Thank God it's the Good Morning Education Show today. And we are live and direct streaming from Lagos, Nigeria, West Africa to the entire world. And today is going to be an exciting time. We're going to be having great conversation, great meetings, great connection, and a lot of things as well. Surprises, announcements, a lot of things. And in the show, we are always eager to hear from you. You just let us know where you're streaming from, tell us your location, share your comments about the conversation of the day, either from the headlines to the news, to events, and of course to the topic of the day. And please do not hesitate if you have questions to ask us questions. We are always excited to receive feedback from our audience across the globe. We've had people from UK, we've had people from Ireland, we've had people from Dubai, we've had people from South Africa, we've had people from Lagos, from Abeokuta, from Port Harcourt, and across the world. And it's always getting better on the Good Morning Education Show. In fact, we have a statement and a saying that says that it's always a great morning on the Good Morning Education Show. And ladies and gentlemen, you need to see my colleagues, my analysts, my friends, my buddies, and also my firefighters. Sometimes it's a firefighting situation in the studio, and we blow out and then we point out, and it's always a great time. We always attract voices, valuable people across the globe. And so without wasting much time, I'm going to start with the man who is displaying his mug. I don't know if there's tea or coffee inside. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Dr. Eben, all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Good morning.
How are you, Eben?
I'm fine.
Thank God it's Friday.
Yeah.
How do we say thank God it's Friday in Las Vegas?
No. Don't let us talk about that for today. Let's keep it as secret.
Okay. We'll keep it on that day, you know. All right. So, and then, of course, there's one person I'm always eager to hear the tone of our hello. It's not just hello, it's hello. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Titi, the beauty.
Good morning.
That's it. You can't miss it. There's a GPS to that tone. Locked and loaded, and there's always a prophetic guidance to us in the technology space. We only have the one and only person who has successfully kept his face from being seen. I don't know why. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome Jude Ashedu.
Grace, go Jude.
Yeah.
And you missed a face, you missed a teeth, you missed a shining sparkle. Ladies and gentlemen, I decided not to end the week without bringing that smile once again to your living room, once again to your homes, once again to your office. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason is thank God it's Friday is because of the next thing you're about to see. Put on your glasses, put on your shades, stay far from your screen as I bring to you the one and only chick that has safety consciousness in mind. Safety check.
Good morning, sir. Thank you so much. The introduction is also something that's like, we should be paying you for this thing, Mr.
Yeah.
That's a
And you know one thing, there's one thing about our show, right? It's always pushing the edge, always cutting the edge. And we went all the way. Ladies and gentlemen, if you notice, we had to take a private jet all the way 6 hours, 5 minutes. I had to take a private jet all the way to the city of the Queen of England. And I had to ensure that the person in our midst in our studio today to help us do justice to the conversation was not just someone who is local, but someone who is global, someone who connects with us here, and someone who connects with us there. And ladies and gentlemen, you need to welcome the next person I'm bringing on the show today. She's a doctor. She's also a psychologist. She's had different stuff. She's worked with different people and different segment of audience, adult, youth. You don't want to waste time to meet this person. Ladies and gentlemen, warm welcome with a drum roll. Bringing you all the way from UK through a private jet. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Dr. Tomilola Oyekunle.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for bringing me in.
Good morning.
Yeah, Tommy, just so you know, we're not crazy people, we're just happy people, right? This is how we pass. All right. And sometimes we notice that when we do it very well, we get mugs, we get T-shirts, and the like. So we have to do it very well. All right. Okay. Good morning to those joining us. We have several people joining us. Carol is already in the house. Abuja is loaded. In fact, Carol is coming to the show next week. Obviously, she has no choice. And then Pamela, thank you for joining. We have Nana. Nana, we are launching your mug in style. Nana, thank you for joining. Okay, so it's going to be a fantastic day, and I'm sure Rhoda will join us sometime later. I have some announcements and I have some surprises as well. But if you look at me, I'm not putting on suit, I'm not putting on tie, I'm not putting on any other thing, but I'm actually representing the brand of Naija Kids today. If you don't mind, you can see my top.
I love the glitter on the Naija. It's so beautiful. I want
All right, so we're going to go to the news. You are presenting toothpaste for you. So we're going to go to the news now, and then we'll come back, and then we analyze the news, and then we'll also have a doctor, psychologist, expert, wellness and mental health expert in the building to talk about the conversation on the show. Innocent, thank you. Thank you for joining. All right, so let's head over to the news, and we'll be back. Welcome back to the show. This is the Good Morning Education Show. Please do let us know where you're joining us from. We're streaming from Lagos, Nigeria, West Africa to the entire world. And we are joined today by an international guest, a friend of the house. She's an expert. She's passionate about helping young people, youth, and she's also worked with people from different ages. She's a doctor. She's a psychologist, like I mentioned earlier. She's also an author. And she's the author of the book, How Are You? And of course, she's the best person to engage today when we're talking about wellness, mental health, and all that. But then before we get to review the headline news, we have the only woman in education that represents the Republic. She's the commander-in-chief of the KK Republic. Ladies and gentlemen, drum roll. Welcome, KK.
KK.
Good
Welcome.
morning.
KK, how are you?
Good morning, everybody. Hi, Dr. Tobilola.
Hello, KK. Are you there? Can you hear me?
I'm fine, thank you. Hi, Rotary. Hi, Rotimi. Hi, Jude. Hi, world.
Welcome.
All right.
Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
yes.
Okay, so let's move to the headlines. Your thoughts on the headlines: Titi, Eben, Safety Chick, Jude, Tomilola. If you could share on the headlines as well. What headline caught your attention? Anyone wanting to review on that?
I think because we're talking about mental health today, the headline that caught my eye was, Kwara State arranging for WAEC for a COVID-19, student. And I asked myself, if I'm sick with COVID-19, I know I would have missed my exams, but I'm just saying, should I be doing it as I am sick? What's my state of mind? How ready am I? Is this something that they could have, done pushed aside and done privately? So I'm just thinking that why, did I specifically ask for that? Because honestly, for my friends that have had COVID, and when they explain their experience, I'm like, I wouldn't want to take exams in those conditions. Of course, different people experience COVID-19 differently, but I'm still trying to just worry and say, as a child in the right state of mind to be able to do an exam and then excel in it. So I'm just, I'm wondering why they're arranging the WAEC, but maybe having more details would help. So those are my thoughts anyway. That's what, just caught my eye as I looked at the headlines.
Okay, any other person? Comment.
The Babcock convocation online, good enough, good. I think the first video I saw about convocation was Japan, right? Early this year, Japan holding a convocation online, and maybe now is our turn to take the baton to also host our convocations and graduations online. And the teachers who are organizing outdoor classrooms or outdoor school, that is also laudable.
All right, fantastic. Safety Chick, you want to say something about the headline?
Okay, yes. So the arrangements for the students. So first of all, I think that maybe they were being thoughtful by wanting to do that. But again, they would also need to check, is the child able? Because sometimes some people say asymptomatic patients, they are fine. It doesn't look like anything is wrong, just that they have to like in some cases. There's other cases the person is really sick that you can't do much. You just want to rest. You don't want to be under so much stress. So I think those conditions should be checked before giving. And then, of course, the fact that some students that went to school have already started getting positive. So my own question is, are systems in place to ensure that these children do not go back and give it to their parents? Was there an isolation center in school? Was due process followed so that these children will get treated well and they won't be stigmatized? Because more importantly, we need to ensure that people are not stigmatizing people who have come down with COVID, because COVID is not really a death sentence in the real sense of it. It's only when maybe there are other factors here and there, but it's something that you should be able to come out from when you are treated properly, and then of course your body responds. So I'm hoping there's no stigma there and no pointing of fingers for those students. And then of course I'm also really impressed at the virtual convocation thing. I'm happy to hear it.
Okay, Eben, your thoughts on the headlines?
My thoughts on the headline. I think I will talk about the virtual class of Babcock. I am impressed, and also I feel so sad that Nigerian public universities and state universities are not actually doing anything at all about that. So instead of doing that, they're actually busy making a lot of money um, around them. I think I said something about that. I think on Monday or Tuesday. So I think it is not all about those internal revenue that is being generated in school. The idea for that internal revenue can actually be used to create an element that can function well, and then that can actually make learning come into reality. So it should not actually be about money, 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 but it should be about impact. I wish that the board of ASU can actually look at those private universities that are actually going above them when they are meant to go above them, and then learn from them. I pray such happen.
All right, fantastic. KK, do you want to say something? KK, welcome to the show. Good morning, KK. Do you want to say something on your headline?
Morning. Well, I mean, I'll just jump on Eben's train and say that, yes, actually, I've been wondering about what's happening with the universities, because we're doing WAEC, we are looking at JAM, but I mean, where are they going to? So it's really important that we begin to look at what is going on in the universities. How ready are they to receive the students who are meant to be coming in? And that's just the reality of where we are right now, especially with the public universities, which take in the largest number of school leaving students. So yeah, thank you.
All right. Is Dr. Tommy willing to say something on the news headlines? Is she willing to say something?
Right, okay. Personally, the way I look at it is this. I think my glasses is reflecting. I'll take it off. Okay, the way I look at it is this. I was a bit shocked and surprised, I must say, when I heard that students were doing exams, and I was like, okay, this quite I finished from Nigeria, so I don't see it as a big deal, because one way or the other, we like to see the reflection of what we've taught our students. But as much as possible, this is a different time, so I expect something different. But what has been done, or the precautions, or the interventions in place before the exam was taking place or took place, is what I'm not really sure about. So personally, I will say, I wouldn't just say they shouldn't do exam, because different countries are different. If I'm relating it to UK here, the exam for this year was cancelled because of the COVID, because you understand the repercussion or the implication or the impact of if a child gets the virus, how it can easily spread. But the question now is, I'm going to throw out is, what was done before the kids or the children or the student, whatever they are, actually sat for the exam? Were there doctors in place? Was there checks in place? Were there tests carried out? Was were they assessed? Was that mental state assessment? Was something in place for those young people before the exam was carried out? So those are the kind of questions I have in mind. So I wouldn't just say, right, don't do it, because countries are different, depend on what they want to do. But I will say what was put in place before the exam took place. So I would like to hear from others, maybe anybody knows what's been done or what carried out or what exactly were put in place before the exams started. I'm not sure if they finished as well, but I know they've started the exams. So that's what I would say about it.
Okay. Safety check, I think you should answer that.
Okay, so before the schools were open, the federal government released some guidelines that all schools should at least should use as a standard for opening their schools to students. And so it was expected it was expected that before you would step into a school, there should be plans for hand washing or for sanitizing. There should be plans in the classrooms for social distancing. There should be plans for cleaning and disinfection more frequently, and plans for also in case there is a case in school, if someone suddenly gets it, what is the procedure for ensuring that that person is properly taken care of without infecting other students, other teachers, and also without being stigmatized. So all these things were put together in a document. It was shared. It is our hope. It's our hope that everyone who got it was able to at least take the basics and then see how to domesticate it to suit their unique content. Because we understand again that different schools have different realities. So the school in the rural area and the school in the middle of town, their realities will be totally different. So how do you ensure that even mask wearing, is implemented, So all these things were put in place before the schools were actually open. So what is now left is to actually see how well was implementation done. Because it's one thing for you to say this is how things should be done. It's one thing for people to actually start to do it, and another for them to actually continue to do it when nobody is watching. So that compliance is there. Yeah, so that's what I have to say.
Yeah, I'm replying back to what you just said. I think, well, I don't know what's been done, but as you said also, I think it depends on the schools also now to develop something for themselves and say, all right, I think we are safe enough to do the exams. So, for example, a school might say that I want to just check the status of my students, see if they're actually COVID-free, if I'm going to use that word. So meaning that every child that wants to do exam or every student that's going to do exam there, I'm going to test them to see if they're positive or they're negative. So if they are negative, then you can say, all right, it's okay for them to come in there. If they're positive, what intervention can they put in place for them? So I think all these things comes together as like a full package, depending on schools. The federal government they might want to do the exam, which is okay. But the thing is that it depends on each country. Some country will say, no, it's no. I stay in UK, it's a no. What they did was base it on their mock exam or all the exams, all the things they've done before or things that have been in place. But Nigerian schools might want to do it. But the question is that what intervention is put in place. So I still think that it depends on every school now. Every school now has to develop something around the plan that's been in place and see how it works. That's just my response.
So if I can just step in.
Many schools by themselves cannot afford to even run the test for the student, even if they wanted to, because it's expensive. I mean, we're talking about some states can't even do it for those that are actually infected. How much more when a school is just wanting to check? So the realities around here are different because Nigeria was not testing as much as they should because they did not have enough capacity. Even though things have changed now, how it was at the beginning, but we're not even still there yet. See, so like you said, context is so important.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And let's just go straight into the business of today. And we're so excited. Thank you, Dr. Tomilola, for accepting to be on the show. And we're talking about students and teachers' mental health and wellness today. And interestingly, you've been talking about this, I think, in recent times, almost every week or something like that. I've seen articles, videos, and but just the purpose of today, I would like you to starting with the fact that we need to pay attention to the aspect of not just cognitive development, academic excellence, and the likes. Well, let's talk about the wellness of students. We've had people staying at home for like months due to COVID, and now a lot of people are having the pressure of preparing for resumption or preparing for terminal exams. Let's get to that point and start with it. Dr. Tomilola, how do we begin to stress this factor as a key factor, mental health and wellness for students and teachers? Please, over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much for bringing me in again, Mr. Rotimi. I know it was on lastminute.com, but I had to just quickly come up today because it's one area that's so passionate to me. And I have a lot of friends speaking to me and say, Tommy, what are you doing? I said, we all have different parts in our life. Our journeys are different. But I think this is one area that I always have that passion for because I was once a child. And when I look at my life and I see the journey and where I started from and where I am now, there's one thing I keep up to is my wellness. If I'm not well physically, if I'm not well emotionally, if I'm not in my right state of mind, there is no way, absolutely no way, I'll be able to achieve this. Or there might be one or two delays along the line, and that would stop me from where I am today. And one of the reasons I'm into education. So I just see education as that field or that area where there's that a little bit of that gap in there, which has to be filled in. And that's exactly what I do. And I just feel that this needs to be spoken about. There needs to be more awareness around it. Now, okay, you want me to talk about students and teachers' mental health and wellness. This is a huge topic, which I'm not sure I can speak in 5-10 minutes. But I will I'll pick the student first and I'll talk about the teachers and I will link it up together. Now, our mental well-being is one area that I think we somehow, maybe consciously or unconsciously, just overlook, or we just feel that there is no need for talk about it. But every student that you talk to, every teacher that you speak to, they will tell you that if they are not in the right frame of mind, there is no way, absolutely no way, they can concentrate and they can achieve exceptionally. For example, a teacher that has a lot of issues going on at home, there is no amount of money you pay that teacher will be able to deliver well. The teacher might be able to deliver well, but there might be one or other things that need to be sorted out. And if that's not sorted out, it's going to have an impact on that on that student as well. So we need to look at that point where we need to wrap it up. And every school, I know it's going to be a little bit tough, a little bit hard, but I think every school needs to look at this now and say, right, this is one area that I think we need to focus on now. And this is one area we need to look at. I've got Safety Chick online now, and she talks a lot on safety of children. Safety is important. Wellness is important. We cannot overemphasize that. So going back to students now, a child that is not physically and emotionally and in that right frame of mind might not be able to do exceptionally well to the level we want that child to be. So every school needs to develop us to find a way around how we can help every child. I know it's tough. Sometimes you feel that it's a role of parents at home to do it. And that's why they have to be that collaboration within the school and the home for that child to do well. Now, there's quite a lot of areas I'm just going to focus on quickly now. The first thing is that why are we shying away when we hear that word mental health? I'm going to say that first. I'm going to throw that out. Why do we always just think about that word mental health and we are like, I don't want to talk about it? Why do we feel that mental health is just that? It comes with a lot of stigmatization and there's a lot of stigma attached to it. We need to start breaking through that because there's no way we can work effectively. We can get to that point where we need to get to. Now, every student that's been at home now, my question, I've got a lot of questions. I'm going to start throwing them out. The first thing is that every child has been at home now. I know schools are calling them and checking up on them, but do we have something developed in such a way that we check up on that child? For example, we have a document in place where we check up on every child, asking about all the aspects of wellness. For example, you're asking them emotionally, how are you doing? Physically, how are you doing? So questions like that needs to be in place even before every child comes back to school. Those vulnerable children at this time, they've been at home. What do we have in place for them? Lola Aneke is doing an amazing job in terms of that, but we need to do more. It's just that area that I just feel that we need to do more. Children are thinking of coming back to school now. The child that you saw 4 months ago is going to be totally different from the child you're going to see when the child comes back, whether we agree it or not, because there's going to be that part where we feel that something has gone wrong, but how are we going to develop that? So it's a massive thing. I'm going to say that it's something that we just need to start looking at, start breaking those gaps or those barriers and see how we can bring that together. Also, education as well. Educators have been at home for a long period of time. I saw an article on Facebook one day and I was in tears actually. I had to reach out because I know we can say it's nobody's job, everybody has to look after themselves, but we need to do more at this time. And sometimes it's the role of the government, it's the role of the teacher, it's the role of everybody. We need to just come together. It's just something we need to look at. So I think more questions from you will allow me to answer that question.
Fantastic.
Because it's a massive topic and it's something that really needs to be looked into.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
I have a question.
Titi, you said what?
Yes, I was saying I have a question.
Ask your question, Titi. Let's welcome Rhoda to the show. Rhoda Odigo, good morning, good morning, good morning.
Hi, Dr. Tommy.
Hi,
Rhoda, can you see my top? Can you see my top?
In fact, I was just about to talk about it. I was like, what's happening with that hoodie? You know me, I'm a hoodie type of person. So tell me about that.
All right.
I've been trying hard to connect. Good morning to the Good Morning Education Show. So Titi, go ahead. The question.
All right.
Dr. Tommy, thank you so much for joining us. And my question is this. So I'm a parent, first of all, talk as a parent. Can you tell me 3-4 questions
I should be asking my child right now, to kind of gauge their mental health? That's my question. And then as a school owner, what kind of questions should school owners be asking their teachers? 4 or 5 questions that they should be asking to kind of gauge, where people are, mental. And the questions that are, don't give me that, oh, I'm fine, I'm fine. What kind of questions should we just start to try and gauge the mental state of both our teachers and children?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. Okay, right. The way I'm going to answer that question is I'm going to split it into 3 aspects. When I think of mental health, what I think is that mental health has to do with your cognitive, your behavior, and your emotional well-being. So there are 3 things altogether, or I might just say 3 out of many things. So your emotional, your cognitive, and your emotional well-being. So any question you're asking your child should be all around that, or should be around that as much as possible. So it has to do with how the child thinks, how a child feels, and how a child's behave. So when I'm asking question from my child, for example, you might just say, just for example, how do you feel about this COVID thing? Have an open-minded conversation with a child instead of a closed one. What do you feel about this COVID thing? What do you feel about going back to school? How do you feel going back to school? Would you like to go back to school? Yes. Why would you like to go back to school? What do you feel about it? So having conversations which are open-minded, making sure that those questions is all around the cognitive, the behavior, and emotional well-being of that child. How do you find yourself ask questions sometimes and just leave it there? And when you're asking those kind of questions, it might be in a form where the child is not even expecting it at all. It might be when you're having a nice conversation with your child or going on a walk. So your child is not expecting those questions. And those questions are not back to back. So that questions might just be random. Today you might ask this, tomorrow you might ask this. And the whole idea of this is for you to have an idea where that child is and what that child is thinking about. Also, some people feel when they hear mental health, they are thinking that it is this, but it is not. It's a big thing. It's more than the absence of mental disorders. It's not more than the physical, how you're feeling, how you are physically. So the question should be how the child thinks, how the child behaves. So, for example, if you see a child or you see a child that is not behaving appropriately for their age, so questions might be around that. It's not like, why are you doing that? So you might want to do that, but take a few steps back as well. Ask leading questions. Asking why the child is doing that. That will give you an idea what the child is going through, what the child is feeling like, what the child would like to talk about. Or, for example, you ask a child a question, the child says, you know what, mommy, don't worry. Mommy, don't worry. Tomorrow, mommy, don't worry. I don't want to talk about it. For example, we're talking about sexual health, things like that around with the child. And the child said, Mommy, I don't want to talk about it. Okay, I don't want to talk about it. Fine, depends on the age of the child. But the child is keep shying away from it, one way or the other. It might get to a point where you have to sit down with that child and find a way to know why is that child not wanting to talk about issues like this. So you know your child, you know how the child has been. So throw questions out, make an open-minded conversation, and make sure the questions all around the behavior of the child, how the child thinks, how the child feels, and how the child behaves. Now, that's for a parent. Now, talking about schools, and that's the area where I'm not sure what's been done in Nigeria. Here, one thing I know that's been done, and is actually still being done, especially children that are being vulnerable, or the child that has special needs, or the child that have, or children that have emotional demands, or children that have other things going on with them. The schools have things in place where they check up on that child. For example, they go home to check up on that child. They might not have to physically go into the house, but there's something they have in place. It could be Zoom meetings. Sometimes they have to go in, especially children that have other conditions or things going on with them. So the question about school is that they might not want to go in. They might call a child, have Zoom meeting with children, ask questions. I had an online session with a school last week on Instagram, and one of the key things I mentioned as well is that at this time school is thinking of coming back. They should have a template, something in place for every child as much as possible, so that they can gauge where that child is, and it can link it up with what the child has been or how the child has always behaved. A lot of things have changed. I'm not sure I answered your question.
No, you're doing great. You're doing good. I like some of the responses that you provided.
One thing, can I ask Dr. Tomi a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so Tomi, this is a very sort of like it's very personal. This particular topic, because I've had personal experiences, maybe not directly me, but personal experiences with this particular topic, and I'm almost at the verge of saying we're all in a mental health disaster. of sorts, where quite a number of people are dealing with things that are very difficult for them to manage, very difficult for them to control. Let me use that word, control. And when humans lose control, it's often difficult. So in the school community, and I'm going away from the family units, in the school community where everybody needs mental health check, so to speak. The data that we have is kind of like straightforward. We know when it comes to children, we know that, and we've seen it, and Dr. please correct me if I'm incorrect. It says that 1 in 6 children between the ages of 6 and 17 will experience a mental health disorder each year. That is a lot of children. And these are children within a school community or an education community that have adults who also have mental disorders as well, and in particular in the Nigerian climate. Now, I don't want to drag my question, but what would be the strong point for us to institute a mental health day, even if it was to eliminate the stigma around it? Because the stigma, I don't know if you guys have talked about stigma before I joined in, but there's a stigma attached to it that needs to be honestly broken, demystified, everything. I want you to speak about a mental health day as an agenda for schools, every school, because it is, for me, it is a big deal. Even my teenager here in my own home, we've had those conversations. And it is tough, even for teenagers right now, having to live in 2 worlds, the cyber world and the physical world. And to me, please, I don't want to stretch my question, but my question is around a mental health day and or probably an agenda that we can have within schools that would help us solve this problem.
Okay, now, oh my goodness, sorry, 1 minute. Okay, yeah. Can you see?
Yes, can hear you. Uh-oh. Would that be me? Is that me?
No, Rhoda, you are right here. We can see you. We can hear you.
I'm online.
Can't see you, not see you.
Okay, we lost her.
Come back.
All right, sorry, my laptop just went off. I don't know what happened. Sorry about that. Can you see me now? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
I can see you. I can see you.
We can hear you, so go on.
Okay, yeah. That question.
No,
the thing is that question is something that almost everybody asks about it, because the stigma is just there and everybody's wondering what's going on. How are we going to break through the stigma? And one of the ways we can break through the stigma is what we are doing at the moment. So that's the first thing I will say. I know it's hard, but we have to keep talking about it. I have friends that are psychiatrists, and even at that level, they talk about it, that the stigma is still there. It's hard. I don't know why. Maybe the church, maybe the community is not encouraging or embracing it, but that's why it's still there. But what we have to just keep doing is for us to keep talking about it. That's one. Number 2, what I will say is that schools, I know it's difficult in different countries. Here, one thing I know schools have, they have at least mental health practitioners in schools. Schools have well-being officers. They have things in place where children can walk up to them and speak to them. So, for example, those children understand that these people are here. They are here for this particular reason in school. For example, in schools, you have the bursary, you have people in charge of accounting, you have people that's in charge of welfare, you have people in terms of other things. Let schools also have people in place. Can you see me? I can't see anyone.
We're good. We can hear you.
We can hear you, but we can't see you. But go ahead.
You can't see me. I can see you.
It's fine.
Go ahead.
Maybe your video is off.
My video is not off. All right, that's fine. I'll keep talking. So I think the way we can go about this, Rhoda, the way I see personally in Nigeria, for example, is to have a proper structure in place in schools. When I say proper structure, it's not calling yourself and say I don't know what title they use in Nigeria, but having people that are qualified, they are registered, people that go for update training, They understand the inner thing about what is going on with mental health, and they are there to support these young people in school. I think that's the basic. Because here in school, one thing we have a proper structure in school. There's mental health first aiders at school. They have counselors at school. They have people at school, and they are qualified. They are trained. They have up-to-date certification. They go for their normal CPD trainings. They have everything in place. With that, every child will understand that I can go and speak to this person if I'm worried. And for a child to know that can speak to you, it's not because they want to take you to psychiatric home. No, it's for you to express exactly how you're feeling. And this is one thing I feel that schools can have, brother. Having an agenda in place is not having one day mental health awareness all through the whole year. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about children coming up themselves. I'm having topics like doing assembly. Today I'm talking about kindness. So tomorrow I'm talking about gratitude. Next tomorrow I'm talking about this. So they are coming out themselves and they are opening up. You know what? Yesterday I wasn't feeling too great, but today I'm much better. Yesterday, this what happened to me, but this was what I did. Dr. Tomola spoke to me at school yesterday. She gave me some practical steps, and I followed these practical steps. So those kids coming out themselves to say, I went through this, I spoke to this person, and this person helped me out with this issue. We're not tagging them. We are not saying these children like this, but we are trying or finding ways to support them so that the school can be like an inclusive place where everybody's opinion, everybody's emotion is welcome. And I think that's just what we need to look at. I'm not sure if I'm answering that question well, but I think that's what we need to do. So schools.
I would just like to add something to what she has mentioned. I would just like to add something. She has really touched on some very, very important points, and it all boils down to normalizing the conversation on mental health. Many times in this part of the world, once you just say mental health, the first thing people think of is, oh, maybe you're running mad, or maybe you're bipolar and all that. It doesn't have to be that. And she mentioned it's not always that there's a mental disorder. So it's really important that we normalize the conversation, and normalizing the conversation would also start from our homes. You know, as a parent, what are you even saying to when your child comes and says, I feel a certain type of way? What are you saying? Are you saying, be a man, or don't cry? Or, you know, it starts from there, because if we are not conscious of what we're putting into them at that stage, that is what they're also going to take out. And then, so when we're working on it from the family angle, we're working on it from the school angle, and then using other platforms of influence. You know, I think it was last week when I talked about religious leaders using their platform to talk about these issues. When we begin to make sure that all messages that need to go out to the public is also being shared on other platforms of influence, there is that synergy. And so when you know that you are at home, you're saying the same thing, at school you're hearing the same thing, in church or mosque you're hearing the same thing, at work, it just has a way of imputing that thing into you, that this is the correct way to be. This is how to react when you find yourself in so and so situation. And so once we normalize the conversation, you will see that people will begin to feel free to talk about it. I mean, some people can't even talk about the challenges to their friends. It's that bad, because they feel if they tell their friends may look at them in sort of way, you know. And you should also have good friends too that would understand that when you talk about these things, it doesn't make you a CC or less. It just means that at this point in time, you need support, you need love, you need understanding. And again, I think we should also encourage the culture of journaling. You know, when you feel a certain type of way, there are two things. Either you talk about it or you write about it. Just find a way to transfer that emotion, that feeling from your headspace.
Safety check. Thank you so much. I saw KK raise her hand, and I know Rhoda wanted to say something, but let me just say this before I give KK and Rhoda an opportunity to talk. I also have a question from the audience. Carol is asking a question, and I'll tell Titi to take that question as well. So, but this is what I want to add to what Rhoda asked. I believe that there is a place where we need to galvanize our efforts, especially in the way things can be solved. So in the climate we are in, Nigeria to be precise, I think that one of the best things to do is to find ways where we can put something on the calendar, because we do so well in something that we can tag. And so I would support that, and probably maybe later on Dr. Tomo will help shape that perspective in the fact that I think mental health day in school is one of the first steps to acceptance. Because some of the things you said is after acceptance, post-acceptance, pre-acceptance. We need to say, if possible, just like the way you had your Our You conference in June, we need to say that, look, Once a term or once in the academic calendar, there is a day that we respectfully set aside and say, this is mental health or mental wellness day in our school. And they'll begin to see the adoption spread like wildfire.
And it might be a week instead of a day. It could be mental health week, and it could be every term, things like that. Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. So KK and Rhoda to you. Then we'll take Carol's question and we'll move to the comments, and then we'll come back to Dr. Tonola. So KK, very quickly.
Okay, yeah. So I think one of the issues that surrounds, or let me say, one of the barriers to normalizing the conversation, like Safety Chick has said, is the fact that we look more and focus more on the mental disorders than mental health. For example, stress and excessive stress is something that impacts negatively my mental health and, of course, my well-being. And that in itself is something that happens to everybody. So I truly believe that we should get into that space where, and yes, advocacy and education will push us into that space, into that head space where we all understand that there's a difference. Now, if I don't deal with my mental health and I'm not open enough about it, or put the things in place to ensure that I can overcome the issues that I'm having, which are regular, normal, everyday issues that people typically go through, just in different dimensions, then it might then become a mental disorder. Yeah, so I believe that we should try and make those distinctions. Because when we talk about schools in the UK, a lot of times some of these issues surrounding how they're able to make things work as smoothly is data. They have a lot of data that they can fall back on, they can leverage on, and they pick up data about almost every single thing. Maybe too much, like Carol is saying, but it does help when you then need to look at the graphs and say, oh, how has this person been and what could possibly have led to this mental health disorder. So in Nigeria, we truly need to pick up data and, of course, normalize the conversation and make those distinctions. All right, over to you, Rhoda.
Okay, so Rhoda.
So the reason why I mentioned this particular day, look, I work in low resource environments, right? Very tough, sometimes in these environments, and this characterizes the population that we're discussing about. And like what Smith said, it being itself an agenda, it's a powerful tool for the rest of the education that should go with it, or the rest of the experiences that will come after it. So many schools, there's an implementation of character development, right? Every morning in the assembly, people talk about, you pick one thing in your honesty, trustworthiness, and things like that. So there are components of that, of the celebration of that particular day that happens. But in Igbogo, in Ikorodu, in Ubuta, in Imo State, in somewhere in Kapatan, in the north, we don't particularly say today that these children, look, they don't have access to these tools. First of all, we have to build a cohort of these experts. Where are the experts? Where are the counselors? Where are these people? And it's only when we dedicate this particular I don't know what to call it, that we need to discover our gaps. Because as much as we have teacher gaps, as much as we have counselor gaps, you mentioned mental health first responders. These things are alien to us. But believe me, we all are the same way. They're alien. So imagine not having that agenda, that particular agenda process. Just imagine. So that's my thought.
The way I see this is, thank you for that, Rhoda. Thank you for that, Mr. Jai. The way I look at this is this. Now, if you're looking at the biggest aspect or how we're going to solve everything, it might be a bit cumbersome to us, and we're being worried how we're going to go about it. So what I would say is that let every school start. For example, this school in a particular area, for example, in Lekki might say, we want to do this. Let us start. A school in Ikoyi said we are collaborating together. We are doing something like this, or they want to do it individually. So it's more of everybody having something in place in their school. Number one, and I will really stress this, all the professionals that work with mental health students or whatever in schools, they need to be adequately trained. They need to be educated. They need to know what they are doing. They need to know their stuff. If they don't know their stuff and they are not ready to go through the proper channel, then they should not be there to support these children, because they will be the first point of call where those children can walk up to and they can embrace whatever the child comes with, and they can help that child in that process. Honestly, whether you like it or not, A lot of young people, they find it difficult discussing with their parents at home, but they would rather want to discuss in school. And I see that a lot. So we need to have professionals in schools. It is not too late. Schools can start finding a way, even if it's just one person or two people or three people you can train in your school so that you have something in place in your school. For example, the school might say, this is what we have in place for mental health. Somebody talk about mental health, they have professionals in their place and know what they're doing, and we can always work together to see how things. So it's more of everybody now stepping out to say, I want to do this for my school. I cherish my young people. The way I'm developing curriculum for them is the way I need to look after their well-being and their mental health. It is something we need to just embrace. There's no two way about it, and this is the time to start, especially now post-COVID. Post-COVID is the time to crack things up, put things in place, and start supporting these young people when they get back to school.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I just like I had to fly in Dr. Tomilola with a private jet, I'm sure we'll have to bring you physically to Nigeria to start this process, because the rubber must hit the road. And so Tomilola gets set. You won't always get the cold. We'll bring you to our own summer. And guess what? Our summer is year long. It's not 2 months. It's not 4 6 weeks. So get ready to be toasted and roasted as we get the work done. So I'm going to give Dr. Jude Ashedu the opportunity to read comments, and also there are questions for you, Dr. Tomilola, from the comment section. So Jude, do your magic. It's Friday. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, Mr. Rotimi. Starting clusters as individuals, but we must do something. Dr. Tomilola.
What happened this morning, though?
Where are the experts? Rhoda Odigbo. Nana. Unfortunately,
I think you have to take Nana's first comment to understand the second one.
Of the program right now, I will share the procedures and outcome of the program when it has been completed and resources have been made public. Nana.
Nana does a lot of work here as well.
And in my opinion, you do not, that's Cadet Academy. And in my opinion, you do not necessarily have to be a professional to be sensitive enough to identify mental unwellness. If you genuinely care and are observant, especially as teachers and parents. Good one. Cadet Academy, from identification, we could then help individual get professional help. Nana, I totally agree with Dr. Tomilola. I am involved in 3-year program with the Irish government, and the first topic being addressed is mental health for children and their families. The government is using children's book to promote self-regulation, meditation, exercises, etc. to improve their mental health and overall well-being. Thank you, Nana. Next, okay, Carol. But I would like to ask a question. Do you not think that the excessive support in schools in the UK gives excuses for children to misbehave or even to sit in their issues? That's from Carol. Another one. But
I think that's for Dr. Tommy to answer.
Okay. You want to answer that now? All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Barlow. Okay. Do I think that the excessive support in schools in the UK gives excuses for children to misbehave? I wouldn't say categorically yes. No, I wouldn't say that to that. There are excesses one way or the other in one way in different sectors. So I wouldn't say just in schools, but I understand from your point of view what you're trying to say in terms of behavior. Now, in terms of behavior, I wouldn't say it's a tricky question. So I wouldn't just say the excesses make some children behave. It might make some students misbehave, which I agree with you, but not all of them. All right. Some of them see those excesses and they use as an opportunity to be better. I see a lot of children that's asylum seekers. They come in here and they use all the opportunities available and they become great. They get to that point where they want to. Whereas some other children will see all the excesses and use that to their advantage. And for example, they misbehave in school, they don't want to go to school, they don't want to achieve anything. So it depends on the child. It depends on it depends on the family, how they train their children. So I understand your point of view. So it depends on the child, depends on the home, depends on a lot of factors. So some people use them to their advantage and some people do not. So the whole idea and what we try to tell these young people is that that's why they heard that there's everything there, as a lot of people feel in UK, you've got this, but as much as possible, use it to your advantage. That's what I'm saying. Use it to your advantage. Get your training, use it to your advantage. For example, now I get trained, I get qualifications, I get everything, but I'm still out there, I'm using to my advantage. But some people have that and will not use the advantage. So it depends on how that child uses it. Some children behave. Yes, I agree with you. To some people, yes, do, but some people do not. So
Thank you.
Thin line.
Question.
There's a thin line there.
Yeah, there's a thin line there. Yeah.
Okay, Jude.
I like to err on the side of I have it than I don't.
All right, Jude, let's quickly take the comments so that we wrap up quickly. So let's speed up. Jude.
Cadet Academy, I think we need to really care when we ask the question, how are you? Do we genuinely want to know or care enough to pay attention to the responder? Because the behavior and body speaks volumes.
She meant body language.
Cadets, behavior and body language speaks volume. Learning craft. Schools have well-being officers as steps to improve awareness on mental health and wellness. Dr. Tomilola.
Can I ask a question about well-being officers? What does that? What? I'm trying to understand. What's their role in school?
Okay, no, that was
Carol.
That was statement. That was
mental health. Mental health issue and teens are very serious. Lack of support for teens in Nigeria. Nana. Yes, Rhoda Odigbo, you are right. I know of very young children that have been diagnosed with depression. When I first encountered the diagnosis, I was shocked because I always thought that severe mental health challenges were exclusive to adults. It was an eye-opener for me. We need to do more within our school setting in Nigeria. Thank you, Nana. Carol, a lot of schools owners won't care about the mental health of their teachers. They believe as long as they are paying salary, teachers need to do their job. That's true. Carol, we don't talk about mental health here in Africa, not at all. In the UK, they talk about it so much, it's about finding a balance. Extreme, right? Next. Carol again. UK has lost something, respect, and therefore they can abuse the support they get. That's something to look into too. Thank you, Carol. Cadet Academy, Rhoda and Dr. Tomi. In Nigeria, we could adopt the funnel model in our schools towards improving the mental health of our students because of the lack of professionals. Babatunde, who need to be more inviting this that's regarding mental health. Starting masters as individuals, but we must do something. Dr. Lola.
Okay, I'm afraid that we might have to. That's all we might have to take today in the questions
Can I
and the
can I
comments.
can I quickly say something?
Yes.
Before we
Yes.
Okay, there is something I actually observe about educators and school owners in Nigeria. Over innovation actually makes some of these not come into reality. I remember when I was in school before on the assembly, we talk about our health, the motivators, and some of those things help us. And when I finished school, when I was practicing as a teacher, I observed that it was turned into thematic. That is ability to now make it topic in the school environment. Now, I can't even find those thematic story again in the school. Like before, in some schools I've worked before, on Monday they will talk about maybe faith. On Tuesday they will talk about maybe cleanliness. On Wednesday they will talk about this and that. But the more we adopt new things, the more we throw away some of those ones that are actually working. So I don't even know what is actually happening, but over innovation. I need you to adapt everything. I want to work. I want to adapt this new system. We even have counselors in school. There was a time different counselors we have in so many schools. They sack all of them. They even turn them to teachers in the school. I know a lot of schools that the counselor is even a teacher. So over innovation, I just want us to just know that innovating, and bringing some of those things from different angles sometimes makes a lot of problem around us. And note something, our parents also should be part of this. And I'm very sure that Dr. Tomilela has actually done a lot today, and I want to also appreciate that. Thank you.
So thank you so much. I don't know, maybe we'll just use this opportunity to give Dr. Tomilola to give parting words. But Dr. Tomilola, you have a book called How Are You? Do you want to use just like 30 seconds to talk about that, and then just your parting shot? 30 seconds.
All right, thank you once again, Mr. Rotimi. Yeah, How Are You book is a wellness book, and it's a book that cuts across all sectors. It's a book that every individual can pick up and just use that as a reflection as well to think about themselves, where they are, and if they need support, they can always ask for it. So that's just How Are You book. It's a book that is so easily accessible and it can easy to read book. So very straight to the point. And lastly, I think this is a time for schools, as we all said today, is a time for schools to step up and see how they can support. That little way might be in training your staff to make sure that they're able to pick those little symptoms or little points from a young person and be able to support that young person at a point in time. Thank you very much for having me today.
Thank you. Rhoda, parting words.
Conversations. I mean, everything I'm hearing is conversation. I think that even from the home, I know that what has worked for me is having lots and lots of conversations. So I think the conversation is a national conversation, of units in terms of family conversation, a school conversation. So if we can just amplify the platform for having those conversations, I believe that we will get to gain what we know an institutionalized way of help working with building mental health.
Okay, KK.
So beyond the conversations, sometimes I find that people are not having these conversations because they do not know what conversations they should have. So we need to educate people on what sort of questions, and I mean, Dr. Tomilola did fabulously today, but let's drill it down and put it within context and say, okay, in your context, these are the sort of questions you should ask, this is why you should ask them, and this is how you should ask them, and this is kind of data you should expect to gather from these questions and the answers, and this is how you could possibly use them. Yeah, so thanks.
Ibenlowski.
Yeah. Just the point out is that we can actually adapt some of those systems into our school. It is actually visible, but let's look for experts. It's not all about just looking for any person to actually work with in terms of mental health. And on our assembly, it is possible. Every teacher should be aware of this. We are all content creator, and we can actually bring out some of this in our content in the classroom. And then as we teach in the classroom, because one of our qualities to motivate learners, we can also be adding this into our teaching methodology when we teach in the classroom. So I think those steps, we can also bring a taste of it into our school, and at the end of the day, our children will be healthy and a lot of thoughts in their mind can be solved.
Thank you. Jude, over to you.
Yeah, I think mental health is a topic we should talk about, and the way forward in which it could be very useful in schools and in helping our students actually become
Cannot hear
better.
you.
Can you hear me?
Okay, yes.
Yeah. So I'm saying mental health should be discussed in school as much as possible, because we have students who are actually going through a lot of trauma from home. So it should be a way of support in school to help students scale through their hearts and also help their mind too.
Okay. Safety check, over to you.
Okay, so I'll just say that we need to be open-minded when these sort of conversations begin to come, because the truth is many times when you even ask the question, the kind of responses you might get, you might even be shocked and not want to take it further. You must be willing to be open-minded, because when we begin to ask questions, we are going to get also. So we need to already be in that frame of mind that whatever we are mature to handle it. And then, of course, as much as possible, let's try to integrate it into daily life. We're not asking you to sit your children down with the students and have a full-blown mental health seminar, which is not a bad thing. But in day-to-day life, just find opportunities to integrate learning points and find teachable moments.
Okay, I would want to say that, let's a lot of this change start with us. Today, reach out to a number of people, really ask that question: how are you? How are you doing? How's COVID been? How do you feel? I mean, a lot of what Dr. Tony said, I think that's what I would say. Reach out to your children, reach out to your family members, reach out to your workers. Let's just start to care. Let's start to take on people's mental state of mind.
All right. So it's been a great time. I just want to use the opportunity to show people Dr. Tomilola's book. If you can see the book, this is How Are You? Very lovely book. Look at Dr. Tomilola's swag pose at the back. But then it's beyond swag. It's a book that has content. It's not just swag. It's a good read. This is my copy. No. Why is KK clapping like I want to give away copies? This is my copy. If you want to buy your copy, KK. See, your cousin Titi is fighting for you again. Titi, what's the?
Are you? Where can we get the book? So when you say get your copy, can we have it at Latana? Where can we get the copy of the book?
You can get it.
Okay. If you want a copy of it, just reach out to me, DM me, and I will get it across to you. No problem at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
My 10-year-old read the book.
How do we DM you? Is it on Instagram? Is it on Facebook?
You can reach me on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm everywhere.
Okay.
Everywhere.
What's your Instagram handle?
Dr. underscore T Lola. Tommy Lola, T Lola. Dr. underscore T Lola.
No, you have to say the way this is saying now.
My 10-year-old read the book. My 10-year-old read the book. I told Dr. Tony, and she thought it was a fantastic read. And she said she learned a lot. And you know what? Since she read that book, she's the child in my home that constantly asks everybody, how are you?
Yeah.
So if you want the copy that I have touched, the one that touched my hand, is a different one than the other general. There's the one that the hand of the maestro has touched. Like Keke is just begging and praying to have one from special delivery. And has been anointed and selected and appointed by Jude. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great time today. We had a fantastic time. Please understand that what we are saying today is not just for your ears, it's for your hands, it's for your heart, it's for your life. It's meant to translate into a culture. And I know that we're going to start by proposing a day for Mental Health Week or Mental Health Day. And I think that if you don't do something, nothing will happen. So we're going to work with people like KK, and she will introduce it in our administrative course. Already, somebody's asking for 3 copies of the book. Dr. Timilola, you're going global now. Tell them I'm your manager now. Why is it like this? You're going global.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Of course, you get a copy that Safety Chick will smile while taking a picture of the book. A smile does wonders. Trust me. You get endorsement from toothpaste companies, Unilever, and the like. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, please follow TT, follow Eben, follow Jude, follow Rhoda, follow Gucci, follow KK. If you can fly to UK, follow Tomi. If you can't, go on technology and follow her. Let's just follow me. I'm now a brand ambassador for Nigeria Kids. I'm going to sign my MOU by tomorrow. How much I pay you to be endorsed? You know, 6 figures. This is the new master class now. If you want us to endorse your product,
He's trying to water the ground. He's trying to water the ground. You know, I know what he's doing. He's trying to water the ground.
Send me a DM. If you want me to market your administrative course, send me a DM. If you want me to market your teeth, shining teeth, send me a DM. If you want me to market your curriculum, send me a DM.
I'm sending you that DM.
If you want me to market your unknown face, send me a DM.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
All right, take care. See you later. Bye.
Bye.